Yep, no real surprise. Just one more example of Trump's entirely predictable and yet still profoundly disgusting pattern of verbal assaults on female journalists. It's been a rough few weeks for the women in the White House press corps. It seems that if you dare to ask a legitimate, well-researched question, or, God forbid, publish reporting based on, facts, and you're a female, there's a good chance you'll be on the receiving end of the kind of playground insults one would normally expect from a deeply insecure grade school bully, with a stunningly limited vocabulary. Let's break down 3 recent, uniquely Trumpian interactions that form a perfect, nauseating triumvirate of trash. They show us exactly where Donald's mind goes the second he's challenged by a woman. First, there's Bloomberg reporter Catherine Lucey. She was doing her job on Air Force One, asking a critical question about the release of the Epstein files. Files related to another notorious sex offender. Trump's response to her question?
Quiet, piggy.
Quiet, piggy. How does this man get away with this stuff? He didn't just cut her off or ask her not to interrupt. He impulsively resorted to a grotesque, infantile insult to silence and shame her for daring to challenge him on a sensitive topic. It's another blatant reminder that for Trump, a woman's role is to be seen, not heard. Certainly not to ask legitimate questions that merit actual answers. It's an intimidation tactic, plain and simple, and it's aimed squarely at women in the media to try and push them out of the conversation. To be honest, though, I'm not sure who should be more ashamed of himself. Trump, for being a jackass, or this guy for not immediately standing up for his fellow journalist and putting the jackass in his place. Next on the list is New York Times White House correspondent Katie Rogers. She co-authored a piece that, shocker, touched on the realities of a man of Trump's advanced age holding office. Trump's thoughtful, statesman-like rebuttal, a Truth Social post where he wrote, blah, 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 blah. The radical left lunatics in the soon-to-fold New York Times did a hit piece on me that I am perhaps losing my energy, despite facts that show the opposite. They know this is wrong, as is almost everything they write about me, including election results, all purposely negative. This cheap rag is truly an enemy of the people. The writer of the story, Katie Rogers, who is assigned to write only bad things about me, is a third-rate reporter who is ugly both inside and out. Ugly both inside and out. This is Trump's go-to. When he can't attack the facts, when he can't argue the substance of a story, he immediately defaults to attacking a woman's appearance. It's the lowest, most transparent kind of sexism imaginable. It screams, I am so threatened by your professional capacity that I must try to diminish your human worth. Newsflash, Donnie Dorco. A reporter's value is not determined by a beauty pageant scorecard, especially not one judged by a man whose own aesthetic choices are, let's just say, questionable. Katie Rogers is an immensely respected journalist. Her reporting will live on forever, while your juvenile insult is just another steaming pile of shockingly despicable nonsense. What's even more telling in this instance is that the co-author of that article, Dylan Friedman, is a man. And, surprise, surprise, Commander Comeover didn't even mention Dylan in his truculent little post. He either forgot about Dylan, perhaps because of his declining mental capacity due to his advanced age, or he intentionally singled out Ms. Rogers because of her gender. Bravo, Donald. You're a real man's man. And finally, let's turn to CBS News chief White House correspondent Nancy Cordes. She had the gall to ask Trump for clarification about his claim that the Biden administration was solely to blame for an Afghan national who entered the U.S. and later committed a crime. Cordes cited the DOJ Inspector General's report that said the vetting was thorough. Trump's sophisticated reply?
Because they let him in. Are you stupid? Are you a stupid person? Because they came on a plane along with thousands of other people that shouldn't be here, and you're just asking questions because you're a stupid person.
Are you stupid? Are you a stupid person? Because they came in on a plane along with thousands of other people that shouldn't be here, and you're just asking questions because you're a stupid person. And then he waves around a photo with dozens of Afghan refugees crammed into a U.S. military transport plane. People fleeing the country with little more than the shirts on their back because they assisted the U.S. troops in Afghanistan, and now their lives and the lives of their family are in danger. I have this picture in my mind of Trump's advisors telling him, "Okay, Donald, if anyone asks you a question you don't understand, just point to the picture. You can even wave it around too. And if you want to scream and yell and have a little tantrum, that's okay. Just do it to a woman." This is a 79-year-old man, for God's sake, who displays no intellectual or emotional maturity whatsoever. Look at the pattern. Lucey asks a tough question. She's a piggy. Rogers writes a critical story. She's ugly. Cordes presents a factual counterpoint, and she's stupid. In every single case, the substance of the issue, Epstein, Trump's own health, vetting procedures, is ignored. The challenge is met with an immediate, personal attack designed to discredit the person asking the question rather than address the question itself. Now, you might say that this isn't just a bad habit, that it's an intentional strategy of misogyny and an attack on the free press. When the President of the United States repeatedly, publicly, and personally attacks professional women with slurs focused on their appearance or intelligence, it normalizes that behavior for everyone else. You could rightfully point out that it sends a clear message to young women and girls that their professional success will always be secondary to how men perceive their physical looks or their willingness to be subservient. But I think that's giving the Donald too much credit. I don't think he's capable of thinking that far ahead. I think his go-to response to any degree of discomfort, to anything that puts him on the spot and tests his intelligence, is to lash out. And the reality is, any sentence longer than 4 words, or beyond a grade 2 reading level, tests his intelligence. And like a 7-year-old, the best he can come up with when he panics is, "You're stupid." He's not even bright enough to come up with a creative insult. He's a child, and one, I have to assume, all the girls ridiculed and picked on during recess. I think he's afraid of women. I think that despite his silver spoon upbringing, despite all his daddy's money, the girls just didn't like little Donnie during his formative years. Or since. He's probably never had a relationship with a woman he hasn't forced himself on or had to pay for in one way or another. And that makes little Donnie angry. Ugly, piggy, stupid. On behalf of all men, I'd like to apologize to Catherine Lucey, Katie Rogers, Nancy Cordes, and every other woman in the media who has been subjected to this pathetic spectacle. They ask tough questions, they deserve legitimate, adult answers, and they deserve respect, not the utterly contemptible garbage this blowhard spews. And if you'll permit me, I'd like to speak for Catherine, Katie, and Nancy, whom I'm sure would never say it themselves because they have far too much integrity and self-respect. But I don't. Donald, I'm rubber, you're glue. Whatever you say bounces off me and sticks to you.